Hello and welcome. This is That Damn Pipsqueak bringing you more coverage of Grand Prix Rome, MSEM's largest Grand Prix ever. We are still in round 1, and we're watching Splashcat play against I Has Pinecone. Splashcat is on a 5-color leyline alignment field deck that has a combo finish, whereas I actually should double check what I Has Pinecone is on, because I almost just reflexively assumed burn. But that's probably not entirely correct. It also looks like Pinecone has the play. Is on Black Red Burn. Looks identical to Chillbrain's list. So we've actually seen a similar version of this matchup happen before. Chillbrain played against the 5-color leyline alignment field combo deck. And the first game where Chillbrain was on the play, Chillbrain got to basically run his opponent over, but then the latter games did not work quite as well. And at a glance, it looks like Splashcat has less interaction game 1, and is more all in on the combo plan, which I think will probably favor Pinecone slightly, but not hugely. These players also have not enabled hands, so I won't be able to give that level of accurate play-by-play. So we're going to have to rely on me predicting what is in players' hands based on how they're playing. A mulligan to 6 definitely is nicer for Splashcat overall because their combo requires fewer cards and fewer pieces going right than Pinecone's kind of combo of 7 lava spikes. But yeah, I'm just double checking to make sure there's nothing that I am not anticipating correctly. Nope, both decks look fairly simple from what I would have been expecting. Turn 1 Banish Companion is one of the better starts that Pinecone can has, even if Splashcat can threaten a turn 3 kill. The Banish Companion represents 6 damage over the course of that, i.e. 2 lava spikes worth. So, depending on the other things that come sequenced after this, this could be a quick runaway game. I think Splashcat's ideal game plan. I mean, I don't think Splashcat has anything that. Oh no, they do have 4 Pithwells. Okay, I was missing this. They do have a touch of interaction, but it's not a ton. But I think kind of the ideal game plan for them involves Unquenched Greed, discarding 5-color abominations, turn 2 Pithwilt, turn 3 Leyline Alignment Field Imagination Unleashed. So hits the Unquenched Greed. We'll see how the rest of that described process goes. Oh, can't cast Pithwilt on 2 though because it's played out a basic island. So this basic island actually locks Splashcat into no meaningful plays on 2. Could cast Oracle's Vision or Unquenched Greed, but is not going to be able to impact the board, which is really worrisome, all things considered. Rikiri Dissonant is a fairly good play. Again, haste creatures are very effective burn spells. Rikiri Dissonant is nice because it also will cause a couple of other points of damage to be inflicted over the course. Splashcat has already taken the relevant damage. But so just from this board state, Splashcat is going to be by their 3rd turn, they will be at 8 life, assuming Pinecone's hand is entirely blanks from here, which is unlikely, and they'll need to cast at least 1 spell to win, so, virtual 7. So if Pinecone just has land 3 bolts, this game is done. But we're starting to hit the stage of the game where haste creatures are less and less effective because there are probably fewer turns left in the game, at least. If Pinecone's winning, there's basically no more turns left in the game, and if Splashcat is winning, there are also very few turns left in the game. MSEM as a format generally isn't this fast, but both of these players are on hyperlinear decks that really can really goldfish quite effectively. Tap land here makes a lot of sense. As we went over, Splashcat doesn't really have meaningful things to cast in this from this spot. I actually didn't check. So discarded a Pithwilt off the Unquenched Greed. So turn 3 Leyline Alignment Field will produce 5 mana. Down to 8. Casse, Suitor of the Seas. Suitor of the Seas is interesting because it represents 1 damage. But depending on what the rest of Pinecone's hand looks like, I would have wanted to cast more burn spells rather than Suitor of the Seas. I think Suitor of the Seas is playing for you get another turn, and I don't think that's a reasonable thing to play for, because if you do get another turn, you're going to win. So I think we're about to see Leyline Alignment Field, tap it, produce 5 mana, Resign to Madness, win the game. Oh, okay. Conflux Ravager, in the grand scheme of things, is one of the more beatable cards that could come down here off a Leyline Alignment Field. It's a 4/4, Chupacabra on steroids, but there can still be a shock that gets by. Curse of Bleeding puts Splashcat to 4, to 2, so if Pinecone has any burn spell, they have lethal here. And the survey says, has another land. Drawing 4 lands is basically never where you want to be on this black-red burn deck. Like, 3 lands is peak efficiency, 2 lands you won't complain about. Oh, I think not attacking there is wrong. I think you're happy to throw away a creature for an extra 2 points of damage. I guess it's net 1 point of damage because they would block the Suitor of the Sea. But that net 1 point is still, I guess your bolts are lethal either way. It feels wrong to me, but I guess I agree that there's no technical cost to not doing it. The main issue is just, I think Pinecone didn't draw as well as they could have, and the end result is going to be now a Valier is going to come down and make an 8/8 lifelinker, or just immediately disintegrate one of these two. But a Lava Spike off the top is still lethal. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and make an 8/8 with all sorts of nasty keywords, but as long as Pinecone doesn't need to attack, it doesn't matter. Also, I mean, the lifelink here is turned off by the Curse of Bleeding. So that's not bad. I'm really wondering what Pinecone is bricking on here. Did not play a land. Did not cast a spell. What's going on? Are we seeing a slow roll? Oh, destroying the Curse of Bleeding is an option too. And this means that the Elemental can now get in for lifelink. And I think if the Elemental connects, I don't know how Pinecone wins this game, especially because this locks out Banished Companion from being able to attack. What was in Pinecone's hand? Was it just 2 more lands? Because I'm looking at the deck list and I'm pretty sure everything is lethal there. Even Reckless Festivities. So, I don't know. That's always a strange thing, and one of the unfortunate things about players sometimes having their hands turned off while you're trying to give commentary is, you don't fully know what's going on behind the scenes. But hopefully the play-by-play is at least fairly interesting to you and your viewers. Some slight chatter about why that game went the way it did. Some things about Magic are Eternal. Bad Beat Stories are one of them. In terms of sideboarding, Icon as Pinecone doesn't have a lot to bring in this matchup. I might be tempted to bring in the Forbidden Brews and just, get even more linear. I assume those are mostly for matchups where your opponent has creatures, but I think they're also fairly good if you're just trying to count your opponent out of the game. I'm not really sure what I would board out for those. Maybe the Brazen Sacks, since those just aren't good enough unless you have a slightly slower game. In terms of Splashcat's list, I imagine we'll see the, pile of interaction come in, as well as the stand on syllables. We might see the Metalia get cut, but this deck list is fairly tight and kind of hard to cut cards in and out of, especially because you have the combo package of the combo package of Turi downtick, and you have 4 Imagination Unleashed to cheat it out, 4 Resign to Madness with Marissa to cheat it out. You don't want to cut cards if you can. There's a lot of cards you don't want to cut. Maybe on the draw you cut the Mirror Gate because it's just too slow in this matchup. I might be tempted to do that. So we saw Pinecone mulligan to 6, Splashcat keep 7, so that's never great. but Pinecone is on the play, which, as we saw, Pinecone had to break for a couple of turns there for Splashcat to not die. The turn 1 Unquenched Greed is usually what needs to happen in order to set up Splashcat's turn 3s. So we'll see the cards that end up in the bin here. But this could already be a very bad start for Pinecone. Discarding Turi is interesting. That puts Leyland Alignment Field at 4 colors once you add Unquenched Greed. And then if you have Marissa, that's, 4 colors is good enough. And Conflux Ravager. That means all 5 colors are represented. That also suggests to me that Splashcat probably doesn't have another cheat-out card, or if they do have a cheat-out card, they have yet another bomb. And then once you start saying, okay, they have a cheat-out card and a bomb, they probably don't also have the mana to play all of those. Taking 4 from this attack, plus another 1. So Splashcat's at 13. By the time they take their next turn, when they take their turn 3, they'll be at 9, assuming nothing has gone wrong. So, given that you also have to tap the land for Leyland Alignment Field, if Pinecone has 3 bolts next turn, Splashcat functionally cannot win this game. Not literally cannot, it's not a, 0 outer, but it would be very unlikely. So, we'll see if that's how this unfolds. So here's the moment of truth. What does Pinecone have? I don't think we're seeing this. Okay, so technically it is optimal to play around. Well, so there is Neutralize and Invalidate that Splashcat could have post-board. I think it's kind of wrong to bring those in, but it could happen. So I can understand that there might be some slight hesitation in terms of throwing around some Lava Spikes, but I think you just have to make them have it, because if you let them take a turn 3, there's a chance you die. I also, if this is your first exposure to MSEM, and I'm saying a lot of things like, if your opponent takes their 3rd turn, you die, that's not generally the case. I think this deck that Splashcat is on is mildly overtuned, and not one that you're likely to see in its present form in a future GP. But I think we're about to see an imagination unleashed. So if this isn't the full combo from Splashcat, Pinecone does get to draw a card off this, and that could represent lethal, but it's the Turi. So how this combo works is Turi has a -X, which is kind of a Protean Hulk. So you -6, you find Marissa of the Grave Howl, and you find a Corvid Heretic. Marissa on her... Ooh. This doesn't change anything. Okay, but it looks scary for a second. Marissa of the Grave Howl, when she enters, can return any permanent card from your graveyard, or from your graveyard or any graveyard, from any graveyard to the battlefield. So she returns Turi. You then -6 Turi again. When she brings back Turi, it also Corvid Heretic happens. When you -6 Turi, you find another copy of Marissa. Legend Rule happens, then the second Marissa recurs the first, and the 2 of them loop. This then means Corvid Heretic kills your opponent. So, this is the combo. This is all 13 points of damage. I think Splashcat is about to explain this yeah. So, that was a fairly quick 2-0. As I discussed, I don't know what was going on in Pinecone's hand, but it felt like they were competitive in both of those games, and just things didn't line up correctly. So, that was unfortunate, but also kind of the risk that happens when you bring in a burn deck. You're kind of relying on your opponent not having it, since you're definitely not stopping them from having it. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.